Championship and fast-track yourself through the race with vehicle and asset finance from Absa. Today, tomorrow, together.
Botswana is known as one of the most peaceful nations on the African continent. But for 3 days in June, this very quiet and peace was shattered by more than 80 cars, which pierced the air with loud noise and sped along desert paths at breakneck pace. It was the Toyota Kalahari Botswana Desert 1,000-kilometer race, leg 4 of the 2007 Absa Off-Road Championship Series, marking the halfway point of the Nationals, all of the categories which were all balanced on a knife edge. The route was divided up into a prologue on day 1 over 50 kilometers to determine starting positions for the racing proper on day 2 and 3, when the 75 teams of production and special vehicles hit the circular route that was designed with the Botswana Tourism Board and the local ecology in mind. Hosts Toyota were desperate to end an 8-year winning drought in their own flagship event after Mitsubishi, Ford and Nissan had tasted victory here, the last mentioned being the champions for the past half a dozen years.
Well, coming to a Toyota event, it's always nice to pull off a win. I think we've got a good base to work from. I think we've got a good shot at it, so we'll see closer to the time once we've done the prologue and we've got a good idea of our pace. But I'm looking forward to the event. I think it's going to be a good event for us.
Cronje made his mark in rallying, but how does off-road compare to that?
Well, it's very difficult. They're both totally different disciplines, and I'm enjoying rally tremendously, but it is always enjoyable to win. So we'll see with time how it goes on. I like the speed and the technicality of the rallying, but the durability and the ruggedness of the off-road also has its merits.
Cronje's Toyota stablemate Bevan Berthold says winning is great, but the fun element is also important.
You know, it's nice to be here and we're going to have a lot of fun, you know. It's what people must remember, that we're in a sport and you've got to enjoy it along the road as well. You can't just have pressure, have to win. You know, we all want to win, but the thing finishes will be very happy.
Three-time champion Ford's Neil Woolridge says with a little more luck, their championship challenge would have looked completely different.
Well, I think we must be in with a good shot. The car's good. We had a good run at Sun City after 2 dismal races early on in the year, so the car's going well. I think if it hadn't been for our mishap in the time trial at Sun City, we could have been challenging for the win, and it's one of my favourite races, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's nice, it's long, 1,000 kilometres of grueling, more the endurance side rather than the sprint side, which suits me and I think suits the car as well. But in saying that, I think it's going to be a really tough route from what I can gather. They've had quite a bit of rain over the past, the bush is thick, and there's a completely new route, so it's a challenge for everybody. But I'd like to think we're in with a shot. We're certainly going to be going for it, there's no doubt about that.
And then there's the quiet, confident one in the Ford camp, Manfred Schroeder, who says all the on-the-job training has certainly helped.
I've done, what, 3 races now. I think that's about enough time, you know, to really learn what the car can do and what it can't do. Yeah, but this is a different race again. And it's 1,000 kilometers. Today and tomorrow you have to get a good, good pace to get a good starting position, because there is going to be lots of dust. But you also have to conserve the car a bit for Sunday.
Another 3-time winner and the defending champion Hannes Grobler loves this event, and the Nissans also adores this one.
Definitely, this is always a very good event here. You know, I like the route. It's a long distance route, you know, it's over 2 days, and yeah, it takes something different from you when you're doing this event, you know, and but the competition is going to be stiff. I'll tell you what, all over, all the manufacturers' cars are very good at the moment, and yeah, you don't know if you're going to win, but we're definitely going to try.
For Ivar Tollefson, Nissan's Norwegian import, there was some overtraining, but the round 1,000 Ks did not hold any fears for him.
The distance shouldn't be a problem. My arm hurts a lot from training at home, so I hope the distance is okay, but normally the longer it is, the better it will be for us.
You're enjoying racing in South Africa?
A lot. It's beautiful. It's sunshine, and it's very nice people and team. Everything's fantastic.
The experienced father and son combination of Hichu and Jalk de Bruin and the McLaren XL dealer team Toyota Hilux have good memories from 2006.
Last year was a good event for us. I mean, we're running with a Class D bucky and we came 3rd overall. And hopefully we can achieve that same result this year. The desert race is one of my favorite races, and I'm looking very forward to it. The bucky is in immaculate condition. It's well prepared. Toyota helped us a lot with the preparation of the vehicle. And yeah, hopefully we can do the same for them. It's their home event and the main sponsor, so we'll try to make it a 1, 2, and 3 and 4 for Toyota, hopefully.
Meanwhile, while one or two old-timers were also back in the fray as well. Richard Leek had lots of experience and 7 desert race victories on his CV.
I decided that the other guys were catching up and I better just get another win quickly, so I move away from them. So it's certainly nice to be back. Nissan was short of a co-driver for this event through one of their guys testing overseas, and asked me if I'd sit in the hot seat. I haven't sat with Duncan before, so it's going to be quite exciting sitting with somebody different, but in testing we seem to get on quite well together in the car, so really looking forward to it.
In Class E, the gloves were all but off, and just 5 points covered the top 4 teams after 3 races.
The first 4 guys in the class, I think we split with about 3 or 4 points. So finish today, well, on Sunday, is going to be very important. And we're feeling confident. I think we're going to have a nice race, and it's going to be tough in any case. Yeah.
Tough and exacting, but that's the desert for you. In the production car class, Grobler and Jordan were leading by 13 points from Foss and Pitchford, who had won at Sun City in the previous round, while Cronje and Birkin were desperate for a win in 3rd place. In the special vehicle class, there was even less to choose between the top runners, but they were all gunning to push reigning national champ Alfie Cox off his pedestal.
The desert race, I believe, Sunday is the main race. I mean, it's 1,000 kilometers. It's the same as us racing 2 of our normal nationals. And yeah, last year we came 2nd. I mean, Harper beat us last year, but now in the new car, and hopefully all the teething problems are fixed. But it's the desert race. This place can bring you tears, it can bring you joy. So, but yeah, I'm giving him a full shot. I mean, if I can win the championship on all 3 that I've done already, and now to take this desert race, which is, yes, it's a very prestigious race.
And the Motorrad crew was certainly ready to race. But for the Atlas Copco outfit, the Harpers, father Nick and son Ryan, it was all about finishing.
Look, we've got a good car. We fit. You know, we didn't finish the last race. We have to try and finish this one. You know, a win is fantastic, but I don't think anybody's won the Toyota Desert race twice in a row. Very, very difficult to win here. But that's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to try for it, definitely. You know?
For the Total Motorsport Camp, there was only one place to go, the winner's circle, Shamir Wariawa.
This is my favorite race, first of all. The desert race is the one to win. And we finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, but we've never won it. And we're going to try for a win this time. The last race we had a bit of a problem. Gearbox let up on us, and so we've put a new gearbox in, tested, so we're ready for action.
There are only 17 points covering the top 6, and many a weary eye was watching the cries. Jan and Henrik in Class B had won every event so far in 07 and had compiled a tidy amount of points, but Motorrad was sitting pretty with 1st and 3rd nicely covered. But eventually it was time for the talking to stop and the racing to start. And first off on the 50k prologue, it was Toyota's De Bruin who sprinted away from the line at Race HQ at Game City outside Gaborone. Wariawa and his co-pilot Siegfried Rousseau were also impressive early on and were setting up the fastest intermediate times for the specials in their Total Porter. But even early on, it was clear that dust would be a severe problem for the teams. Nissan Navara driver Grobler and his trusty co-driver Francois Jordan were also out of the blocks quickly and were in a hurry to place as high up as possible and avoid all the dirt. They made their point, while the other Atlas Copco team, Gary Bertolt and Henry Costain, made theirs. They were very impressive after a quiet start to the season. Colin Matthews and Alan Smith and their Century Properties developments backed with its Audi engine that surprised by going 3rd fastest early on. While the Harpers in 2nd in the championship, just 4 points behind, had to find the balance between conservation and speed early on. They've had a very consistent season, and the move to the Atlas Copco team has shown that they certainly have the talent to become national champions. The reigning Class D champion Manfred Schroeder and his partner Ward Huxtable and their Barlow World Absolute Ford love the longer distances and certainly know how to nurse a car along. Reigning Space Frame champion Alfie Cox has won the desert race in a production car and on 2 wheels, but never in a special. Thus, he was looking for a trifecta in 2007. Meanwhile, Cronje and Birkin were driving themselves into 4th fastest in the production prologue lineup, which meant a heck of a lot less dust than further back. Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst were just a further 40 seconds behind them in another Castrol Toyota Hilux. In 11th overall and 6th in class, it was Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter in their fire engine red Rapsa back who clocked exactly 40 minutes and 40 seconds for the 50 kilometers. For Naeem Mosaji and Rayan Bodjana in the second Total Motorsport Gymco, there was, shall we say, a thorny issue or two to sort out. Okay, you drove into them. You take them out. No, you pointed this way. Okay, ask the marshal. Thanks, pal. Herman Silwald and Paul Helberg went at it hammer and tongs and took 8th in class with a quick prologue drive. In 14th place overall, but just 96 seconds off the pace, Bevan Bertolt and his nav Robin Houghton took their Toyota Hilux through its paces. They needed a good finish. Let's now drop in on former national champs Duncan Foss and his new co-driver Richard Leek and their proudly South African Nissan Navara.
Right, next offence, but not extreme right. So slight right. That one. 300 cows. Good. Okay, 200. Turn 90 left before fence. 90 left before fence. Can't be done. Look for it. 100. 90 left before fence. Go there. Yeah, got it. There we are.
Close call. For Ford Ranger driver Brandon Harkis and John Moore, there was a solid, if unspectacular, start in 8th place in the SP class. While their teammates Woolridge and Kenny Schulthammer and the other Ford Ranger were a further 8 seconds back, plagued by starter motor and alternator problems. The Norwegian Tollefson, who is a mountaineer in his spare time, piloted his Nissan Navara and his Nav Quinn Evanston 19th overall, but was clearly taking it relatively easy. The 4th Ford Ranger with Kobus van Tonda and Rian Guapa aboard also caught the eye with their first full drive out, and they took 11th in the SP class in 42 minutes and 4 seconds. Class S, there's been a season-long battle, and one of the protagonists, another former desert winner Richard Schilling and his stand-in nav Mick Westhuizen, nailed their colours to the mast, leading the prologue by 3 minutes. 3 wins out of 3 gave the newcomers of the year 2006 the Cries a clear lead in Class B, and the Regent Racing pair had a healthy 20-point lead over their nearest championship rivals, the Besaidnots, Johan and Etienne, and their Edenko Bat. They were just 31 seconds behind the Cries and chasing hard. With Walter Duplessis and his Sandmaster Maxi Mag in 3rd place in turn, just 19 seconds behind the Besaidnots. For former SA champion Evan Hutchison and Akim Bergman, a troublesome fan belt and a fuel starvation problem cost them 5 minutes and left them eating dust the rest of the way. But in Class E, Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux in their Barbaspan Toyota Hilux were trying to maintain a 30-second advantage over the Barkhuizens. While the Weichelts, Cliff and Louis were sandwiched in the middle in Class D. And they were being chased by Malcolm Koch and Wayne Brink in their Castrol Toyota, just 3 seconds behind in class. And the Barkhuizens chasing for all they were worth in the Rokon Toyota Hilux in Class E. With 950 k's still to go, the battle lines had been drawn in the sand and the De Bruins were standing at the top end of it. However, only 63 seconds covered the top 10, indicating that the competitiveness was not at all lacking. And in the specials, it was ditto, with Matthews and Smith surprising all and sundry and delighting their sponsors with a fine third place, just 8 ticks off the pace. The Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race continues.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed. ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
The unforgiving African sun shone down early on proceedings at the start of the first day's racing proper in the 27th edition of the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race. Ahead, there was 480 tough kilometers of uncompromising racing through dense bush and the dry sub-Saharan desert with clouds of dust which never really settles down. Navigators were hard at work getting the race notes down, sorted and systemized in their own methods to ensure the quickest passage possible in the clearest communication with their drivers. In the prologue, there were 1 or 2 big surprises.
It came such a big surprise to me as it came to you. So, well, we started yesterday with a mission. We thought we just want to have a good prologue to see how far up front we can start, and it worked very well for us. We're starting first. It's the first time for me, so it's a first time for my dad also. So he's got a hard job for today, but hopefully it will work for us, and we'll just try to keep our position. There's a couple of quick sand markers that when I'm going to pass, they can pass, but we'll try to stay in front of the production.
For Variawa and Rousseau in second place, it was a no-frills prologue, despite some loose sand.
We had a clean run, no problems. Very nice terrain, very sandy, very thick sand. But we had a nice run, yeah, no problems.
And the battle plan for today?
Well, we're starting in front of the specials, second overall this morning. And we're just going to keep it clean and run our own pace today.
For the old war horses, there was just one strategy: keep it together.
Starting 24th, Mick got into it very quickly. I mean, it's the first time he's ever navigated, but we had some fun yesterday, and I'm pleased there's a bit of wind this morning, so hopefully the dust won't be too bad.
What's the battle plan for today?
No, just to get back here, the car in one good sound pace. Obviously, some pace, and keep the car together, and tomorrow go for it again.
The father and son combination, Jan and Hendrik Kraai in the Regent Racing Bat, were just trying to keep things cool.
We're leading Class B. That's the 2000cc engine cars. We're leading the championship and we won the time trial, so we want to just keep it cool and see if we can keep it there for the day.
And so far, 3 races, 3 victories. That's a great record in 07.
Yeah, we're holding thumbs, eh? We hope we are blessed again that we can do another one.
And with that, it was off. The De Bruins were all first courtesy of their win in the prologue, but they only had 7 seconds grace before Variawa and Rousseau hit the road behind them. And Grobler and Jordan were 2 seconds in arrears, with Berthold and Castaingers 4 further adrift. It was a dust bowl at the start as the first guys were set off in quick succession and the racing got underway. Up front, it was the McLaren XL dealer Toyota Hilux of the father and son Hichu and Jaap de Bruin who pulled away ever so slightly, with Variawa and Rousseau still eating their dust. Visibility wasn't great, but no one told Hannes Grobler that. The 3-time champ was on his customary charge early on, with Jordan in good voice.
Starten, ja. We maken. Dat is zo. Zesdag rijden zo. Met 60 rijden zo. En dan vang je er wat. Maar ja, dat is toch wat.
It seems the traffic cops are everywhere. Gary Berthold and Henry Costain were also placed well enough not to have too much dust, but would have liked even less. While Colin Matthews and Alan Smith had picked up the pace considerably, and the surprise package of the prologue picked up where they'd left off the day before. The Harpers were steady as she goes and were clearly trying to save the Atlas Copco early on. And the Motorride crew wanted Alfie Cox and his co-Henny ter Steege to let it all hang out. But after the top 10 had come through, the dust was badly churned up. In fact, the worst of the season, and it affected pace. Cronje and Birken going smoothly. In fact, some spectators were taking chances with their proximity to the route, Schroeder and Huxtable almost missing the right-hander. While Mosaji and Wadhanya's miss was almost complete. Chris Fiss and Japie Badenhorst in their Castle Toyota were still inside the top 15 and going very well early on. But the Botswana racing faithful loved it. As for Bevan Bertelt and Robin Houghton, they favoured the casual approach early on day one. Duncan Foss and stand-in co Richard Leek streaking by, looking for a second win in a row after Foss's triumph at Sun City 5 weeks ago. The De Bruins were putting together a very solid run and were keeping the Wolves at bay, at least for the moment. But surprise, surprise, the man who's won twice already this season, Hannes Grobler, was back in the frame quickly. He and Jordan had moved past Variawa and Rousseau into second. And more cream rose to the top. Make that flew to the top when Cox and ter Steege came from 8th to 3rd, quickly. Cronje and Birken slowly approach also started paying off. And yet another Toyota team, this time Chris Fiss and Japie Badenhorst at his side, made themselves comfortable in the top 5. Harpers had slipped down the order somewhat, but Nick is a cagey racer and was trying to save the car for the long haul on day 2. Foss and Leek seemed to have found each other and were putting all those years of experience to very good use. But large parts of the route were difficult to pass on and tempers boiled and flared at times. Mark Corbett telling Kobus van Tonde exactly what he thinks of him.
Move over here.
Very subtle. Karl Heinz and son Quinton Silwald were having the drive of their lives, and from 15th overall, they were already up into the top 10. Tollefson and Quinn were doing something similar and were going steadily and making their way up the standings. With Brandon Harkis and his co-driver Jean Moore in their Ford Ranger also up from 17th, but battling in the dust. However, the biggest surge had come from Colin Matthews and Alan Smith, who'd gone past Variawa and taken the lead. But the Total Motorsport team was still going well despite a puncture which cost them some time. However, the drive of the first part of day 1 went to Herman Silwald and Paul Helberg, who was superb over the rough stuff. Berthold and Costain were next, literally flying along. With 2005 national champion Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing pack, also driving a controlled yet quick first half. Bevan Berthold and Robin Houghton were next to appear in their Castrol Toyota, and the man with a new fitness regime was keeping it together nicely. He called day 1 a hardcore route. After Hutchison and Bergman's 5-minute time loss in the prologue, the 05 chap threw caution to the wind and let her rip. Gary Gillingham and Peter van Vieren in their Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team bat started off in 20th, but were also patiently biding their time. But the cries were going like the proverbial Boeing, and it seemed everything they touched in 2007 turned to gold for their new sponsor, Regent Racing. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown in their absolute bat were 23rd off the line in the morning, but halfway through day one, they quietly slipped into the top 20. But further back, the dust made it difficult for the no-windscreen space frame cars, such as Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter in their Rapsa bat. Schilling and Oosthuizen in the Plastotech Ace car were doing what they set out to do and going smoothly. While Van Tonder and Guapo were giving it horns in the 4th Ford Ranger on the flats. The typical Botswana midday winter heat was also starting to play a role, and drivers and navigators had to keep an eye on all the gauges on the dashboard to ensure a safe passage through day one. The Weifeld's Toyota Hilux bears a reference to an awesome god, and in the Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race, there are a lot of prayers that make their way up. The 3rd Regent Racing Special, that of Michael Whitehouse and Dean Langton, was 14th in class at the start of the day, but was also solid in the dust of the desert. And for Roacon, the David and Gary White sibling combination was proving to be a good one. In Class D, another family connection, the Duplessis, Yuri and Andre were piloting their BB Auto Nissan into the top 30 with a very controlled drive. But they could not let off for a second, or they would have Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruyn's Adenko bats dust in their faces. Walter Duplessis was still the first single driver out there in his Sandmaster, while the Barkhuisens were keeping the communication lines open in their Rubicon Toyota. Yet another set of brothers, Henry and Maurice Matten, joined the Nissan stable this year under the Ryobi banner, but mechanically things have not quite gone for them. They started off in 58th place. Someone else who wasn't having it all his own way was Neil Woolridge, who was still battling with that starter motor and the odd wrong slot. Class D second places Malcolm Koch and Wayne Brink had their Castrol Toyota ticking along nicely and were in the hunt. And talking hunting, the Raconic squad with Kutsia Labaskachny at the wheel and his trusty nav Johan Gerber back next to him were hunting for more points after a good showing at Sun City. More off-road right after this.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Overcoming all from ABSA. Going the extra mile to get you financed.
At the designated service point of the 2007 Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race, after 240 odd Ks at Lensway Letau, the first car to make its appearance was the Toyota of the de Bruyn's. Kroblan Jordan was second, a few minutes adrift, with the ever-present Nissan Motorsport manager Glenn Hall there to check on their progress. Hichu was pleased, but looked like the long haul had already taken its toll.
Well, we're enjoying ourselves. Unfortunately, we've lost first and second gear, so we're only driving in third. So I think we're going to battle from now on to the finish, especially with the sandy one. So, but we're there. But it's luck. I'm enjoying it. Bit dusty, but we managed to get past Shamir, and we're chasing as hard as we can to get as close to Igu as possible. But it's a long day. We want to finish in a good position to attack tomorrow, so we're just keeping it together.
Cronje and Birkin were next to put in an appearance, but their Toyota Hilux looked like it had gone a few rounds with Bigfoot. And then an over-eager cameraman whose lens obviously makes objects seem much smaller than what they really are almost became a sticker on Duncan Voss's Nissan Navara. And while Krobra's thirsty charge was getting rehydrated, Voss wanted some setting done on the safety belt.
Pick it down further. I want this to end here. Okay. And tighten it so that it doesn't move.
The Century Property Development Nissan with Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzer aboard were next, while Voss was getting rid of all the dust.
Not too bad. Buddy, come here. Hold this up here. Hold this. And pour a little bit. We're battling it. No, okay. Battling a little bit with dust, but car's good. Very good. We can make a couple of changes to improve it, but no, everything's not too bad at the moment.
Corbett, meanwhile, who had that little tete-a-tete earlier with Kobus van Tonda, had some fine-tuning done to the body of his car. And the pit crew were also ready to lend a helping hand.
It's going well. We started 26th off in the day, and I think we managed to pass about 15 people. So I think we're lying about 7th or 8th overall.
A couple of little side swaps, I think.
Yeah. The bush tends to catch you out when you're trying to trace the people in the dust. We were trying to catch the Ford, and unfortunately we just ran out of talent and clipped a tree.
10 out of 10 for honesty. As for the hosts, Toyota, they hoped Mark Cronje was still firmly in it.
All right, so far so good. We're just trying to keep it out of the trees. You know, the dust is quite thick, so it's been a tricky day.
And it left little time for talk too. In the Ford camp, Neil Woolridge was still battling that irksome starter motor, or something.
Neil, how's it going out there?
Hey, I think we've got either a battery problem or a starter motor problem, because we made up so much time. Duncan and ourselves were sitting right on each other's tails, and about 20 kilometers from the DSP, we stalled it going into a corner in a very sandy thing, and that was it, just dead. It wouldn't start, so we had to wait for someone eventually to pull us out and get us going again. So we need to just see what's wrong.
That's off-road racing for you. Manfred Schroeder knows what it feels like.
We had quite a long morning. Had a puncture, and then we lost drive to the one front wheel for the last 60 k's. Then we had some short in the back, and the wirings caught the light, so I had to stop again. No, we're just here changing the front drive shaft now, and hopefully can carry on.
One Bevan Bertolt was not exactly looking pleased with life, probably due to the CV boot which broke just before the DSP. After the compulsory 15-minute stopover, it was bombs away and home Jerome. The De Bruins again put pedal to the metal. The Barkhuisens were doing running repairs in the Roerkon pits, but for them, it had been a solid opening leg on day one, and they were pleased with their progress.
It's going well. It's very tight and twisty, and the route is, the bushes, you know, we were caught out a couple of times wrong slotting, and then trying to get back on the route. And then coming into DSP, you see DSP, but there's nobody there, and you wonder what the hell is going on. And now, well, everybody's here at the end, so...
Well, what was going on was feverish activity and some interesting thoughts.
Beautiful, it's excellent, it's tight. They designed this course for the buckies, but we'll catch them. We had a flat wheel this morning trying to pass all the Class E buckies again, but we're catching up. But it's beautiful, it's marked very well done, and it's beautiful out here, very nice.
Krobler and Jordan were off next in their ultra-reliable Nissan Navara, and the defending champion was looking good. But while they were off, the mechanics and pit crews were stretched to the limit back at DSP. While Cox and Testeger was setting off, Coetzee told us his sorry tale of woe.
About 20 days before DSP, we broke a right front wishbone on the vehicle, and we had to nurse it back there. When we got here into DSP, we saw that we had both the back leaf springs were broken, and the guys are just replacing that, and then we'll take it home then.
But while that was going on, there was even tighter drama for the Du Plessis.
Well, it looks like we're going to retire because of a fan belt.
Where did this happen?
No, it just perished, so it would have broken on the way out. And luckily they picked it up here in the pit, so... And now we can't find the right size fan belt.
Now that's one man with a big sense of humor. And the De Bruins kept the pace up at the front so much that the rest weren't laughing either. Sans grill and some bodywork, the Toyota still sounded great though. On the homeward leg, the drivers were tested to the limit with layers of loose sand making traction and purchase difficult to attain. Grobler, though, is a master at it. Grenier and Birken had worked themselves into third all the way up from ninth and were getting Toyota hearts to beat Custard. Voss and Leek, probably sporting the most unblemished car in the top 5, had gone from 16th to 4th and were putting together a magnificent first day. While Corbett and Moore, with most of the damage to their Nissan repaired, had set off with some serious intent. Marcus and Moore were up from 17th and into the top 6, another drive which showed that the route certainly suited the production cars more than the special vehicles. The first of those through, though, was Colin Matthews and Alan Smith, who'd kept it going beautifully, even though the Buckies were streaming by them. Cox and Testejo were next, but they were soon to run into serious suspension problems. The 1,000-kilometer desert slog continues.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Going off the beaten track to finance from ABSA. Overcoming all obstacles.
The Toyota Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race continues, and the De Bruins, Hichu and Jaap, in their McLaren Excel dealer team Toyota Hilux, spent most of the day fending off the biggest names in the sport on local soil. That's names such as Hannes Grobler and Francois Jordan, the defending champions in their Nissan Navara, who were just a few minutes in arrears. And then there was young Mark Grenier and his navigator Chris Birken, who'd overtaken 5 cars to get to 3rd overall. Men such as former national champs Duncan Voss and his stand-in navigator Richard Leek, who was doing duty for Ralph Pitchford, who was testing overseas. They had themselves climbed 13 places. The crowds loved it, and so did the drivers and navigators. Corbett and Balzard also passed a whole fistful of cars and were in 5th, ready to pounce on any and all mistakes. For Harkis and Moore, there was an even bigger move. They were 17th overnight, but moved straight into the top 10. Even though they wrong-slotted here. But the man who's in the lead in the SP Class Championship still had to nail down a lot of Ks before he could lock up the points. At the front of the specials, though, the biggest surprise of the day was delivered by Collie Silwald and his son Quinton, who piloted their Silwald Transport Zarko out to a lead of almost 3 minutes over the next special. In between that, though, there was Visser and Bardnost in their Castrol Toyota, who were steady after starting off 10th. The second special was the turquoise blue Atlas Copco bat of the Harpers, whose cautious approach in the first half was paying off in the second. Matthews and Smith had suffered a puncture 32 kilometers out from the finish line on day 1 and had to be content with 3rd. While the drive of the latter part of the day came from Motorride team manager Evan Hutchison and Akim Bergman. They were 20th in class but passed all and sundry to take 4th. Looking and sounding rather worse for wear after several collisions with Botswana's finest fauna and flora, Bevan Berthold and Robin Houghton came through to notch up a solid first day. And Total Motorsports Variawa and Rousseau got things going again after a puncture robbed them of some time. For Gary Berthold and Henry Costain in the Atlas Copco Porter, their race had been run.
Wat is die probleem? Ons het 'n beter probleem. Ons is nie seker of ons sommer beter gaan staan het om ons pyp af te so wat is fout nie. Maar ons hoort seker binne die volgende paar minute te weet. Hoe lyk die reis sover? Nee, rof, maar baie lekker, baie stowwerig. Maar baie lekker.
Clint Gibson and Mike Brown though streaked by and they were putting together a good first day, albeit too far back to worry the special pace setters. The big Rapsa bat of Naldus Alberts and Colin Hunter had lost a few places, but was still in the top 10 in class. Within a few k's of the finish line at the bridge, thousands of Botswana spectators had gathered to watch the passing parade, and Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald certainly gave them the royal treatment on the flyby. But it was Collie Sulwald who was amazing everyone with his fine driving and aggressive lines. Son Quinton was holding on for dear life. Back at the bridge, Schilling also gave the crowd what they'd come to see, all-out speed. The Cries looked like they were again set to dominate Class B, and who could argue? 3 for 3 and going well. The dust in the last few Ks was extremely punishing, and the specials felt it the worst. Just ask Roacon's David and Gary White. Woolridge and Schulthammer have not had the best of seasons. The defending SP champions did not finish the first 2 races, but opened their account at Sun City. Here, they again struggled. But in contrast, their stablemates Van Tonda and Guapa and the Unifreight Ford Ranger gave a good account of themselves in their first outing. Blind in one eye and with body parts all over the show, Tollefson and Quinn showed proof that the African bush is one very harsh place. While a whole procession of production cars lined up for the finish after day 1 ahead of the specials. Zermatten nursed his Nissan through while the Roacon lads just rushed by. They obviously couldn't wait to get to the showers. The side note and the brain was solid in the Adenko bat in Class B. While the Weichelts brought the Toyota home looking very well considering the terrain they'd had to cover. In Class E, Jack Beckham and Lucio Santoro led the championship race by a slender point, and they made sure the opposition knew it when they led the way home on day 1. But Toyota's Malcolm Koch and Wayne Brink were keeping them honest. And Brian Martin and Oki Fourie were just close enough not to let the Ford pair relax. The Barlow World Absolute Ford Ranger of Schroeder and Huxtable was plagued by several small problems, but they too were heading for the finish line after a long 480-odd Ks. As were their stablemates Cor van Os and Eric van Poel. While Herman de Villiers and Andre Griesel had gone from 60th right up the order to the top 40, a fine drive. Johan Ferreira and Nico Kotze and their Toyota gave the title sponsors some more wide smiles. Harold and Tian Koen's Landy always enjoys a lot of spectator support out there. However, at the finish line of day one, it was the almost unrecognizable Toyota father and son combination Hichu and Jaap de Bruin who won in 7 hours and 17 minutes. They were just 17 seconds ahead of a charging Grobler and Jordan in the Nissan Navara, who were chasing hard at the end. The De Bruins lost second gear and therefore battled in the sand.
Well, from DSP we battled it, but as I said before, unfortunately we lost second gear, and that was a big hassle for us. But a big achievement for us.
Making it 2 out of 3 for the hosts and strengthening their chances of a first win in 8 years, Mark Cronje brought his Hilux home 90 seconds behind.
Het is moeilijk, je weet, als je ook sporen voor het, dan is het makkelijk om het te volgen. Maar als je die sporen voor het hebt, dan moet je maar je instrumenten gebruiken en die ondervinding dat je hebt. Maar het is goed gegaan, ons is blij.
Voss and Leek provided one of the performances of the day when they took fourth and clearly combined well in the Nissan Navara. The dust was a big factor.
The dust helped us a lot to keep harness behind us. Because we could, if at every turn we see harness is behind us, but we're fortunate we'll put in a new gearbox tonight, and tomorrow is a new day. We're glad we can start in front tomorrow again.
Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar made Nissan supporters sit up and take note when they made it 3 in the top 5. The first 5 cars were all home within 5 odd minutes of each other. Arcus and Moore in the first of the factory Fords split the Japanese manufacturer's rivalry. While Cully and Quinton Silwald were delighted with a fine showing by bringing the special vehicle category home first. The transport man was a happy camper.
Yes, obviously it's a tough one. Desert is always a nice one on the cars. There's the second one coming in now. Quite rough and also very tight, very, very tight. For the bigger cars, without four-wheel drive, really a battle. So yeah, we're happy with the result, and obviously it's not won and lost on the first day. Tomorrow is it's a long day for us. And I must just thank my navigator, Quinton, my son. He's the one who did the hard work. I just held on to the steering wheel.
What is the markings on average besides your own map? How was it out there?
It was very well marked. Over the whole course was pretty well marked. Today our aim for today was to only finish and get to the finish, because tomorrow's when the real race actually starts. So we're very happy to come in first. We did not expect this at all. So it's been a good day. It's been a good day.
And so battle plan tomorrow?
Well, I think we were lucky to come in first, obviously. The big guns are still out there, and tomorrow they will come with a vengeance. So we've been in the dust for the last 150, 170 kilos. So we're used to the dust. But we'll see tomorrow what is going to happen. We won't carry on with the pace that we did today. We'll be happy if we slow down a little bit.
Having lost so much of its body it looked like a special, Bevan Bertelt and Robin Houghton brought their Toyota home in 7 hours and 40 minutes, with many stories of battle to relate. And then the repair work had to start, because the next day they had to do it all again.
Hey, Alfie! What happened, Quint? Did a tree get in the way?
For Alfie Cox, it was the end of a dream to win in a production car on 2 wheels and in a special. What happened? We wanted to know.
Yeah, look, this race can bring you from hero to zero. I mean, got into the lead at the halfway point, and then things just went wrong as we went along. We got a puncture. And yeah, so we dropped back a few places, and then we made it back up again, and then the front arm broke. So we've been stuck 20 kilometers from here. And we had to take off the whole suspension and come in on 3 wheels. So hopefully we can fix it and carry on tomorrow, at least get some points.
chance of winning is over, but maybe we can get some points.
The De Bruins did a fine job of holding off the big factory teams, but there was still a lot of racing to be done. While another unfancy team, the Silwolds, led the special vehicle category home with another father and son combination, the Harpers, hoping to make the Sunday a fine Father's Day for one family with a victory. And after all of that, the drivers, navigators, technicians and crews had to count the cost of the day, take stock and get things ready for the next day. They had to do it all again. Another 480 kilometers lay in wait. We'll show you all of that next week. I'm Arnold Getz. Thanks for watching.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship. Now